So the 3420 is a motor to the throat. What makes it unusual is that it's a sacral to the throat. It's the only place where the sacral gets directly to the throat. And we know the sacral, unlike the will, unlike the solar plexus, is designed to respond, right? It's designed to respond. And so that needing something to respond to can feel like projector energy, right? You go, if you go to a party, and let's be real, right? If you are a generator type, and that includes the manifesting generators, the most natural way to be in the world is to be responsive, even if you have a motor to the throat. And I would say, especially if you have the sacral to the throat, because your awareness is all about responding, right? So you are designed to respond. And, guys, look at what I do for a living. I'm out here all the time. If I go to a party, and I'm not necessarily an introvert per se, but I am so into the alignment with my sacral that I don't like going to a party and initiating conversation. I'd rather stand there and wait for somebody to come to me. It drives my husband, who has an undefined throat, crazy. He's like, well, why don't you talk to people? I'm like, I don't have anything to respond to, even though I could technically, because I have a motorized throat, I could, but it just feels weird. It doesn't feel right. And I think that for the 3420, that feels amplified. That's the first part. The second thing is the exit route for the 34 is the 20. And that 20, let's go back and let's review this in the context of the traditional I Ching, because there's a really interesting story in the 20 in the traditional I Ching that I think helps us really understand the nature of the 3420. In the story of the I Ching, the 20th hexagram is the general on the hill, right? And he's got his army behind him, and they're getting ready to crest the hill and to launch a campaign into the valley. And they've got horses, right? And I don't know if you've been around horses, but they have a smell, right? And the people in the valley below have dogs. And so for them to have a surprise element, if you will, they have to be, the dogs can't know that the horses are out there and that the horses are coming. So this general, the horses are behind them below. He's on the crest of the hill. He's looking down into the valley, and he's taking grass and he's picking pieces of grass up, and he's like sprinkling them down to see where's the wind blowing. And he's waiting for the wind to be blowing that way away from the village, so that when they come over the hills, the dogs aren't going to smell the horses and alert the villagers. So that there's an enormous amount of alignment with right timing in that 20 energy. And so part of what oftentimes happens with this 20 energy is that it's just knows intuitively that it's not the right time. And yet, because that manifesting generator energy has got so much stuff going on, it's like whoop, 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 it's all revved up with nowhere to go. It feels like it should do something. People are constantly telling you should do something, right? You need to go do something. They're pushing you out into the world, and you're like, but it doesn't feel aligned just yet. Remember too that the 3420 is an electromagnetic to the 10. And so if you go out into the world as a 3420 and you pick up that 10 in the electromagnetic field, then on top of like, oh, it doesn't feel like it's the right time. Now you have that G center configuration where you're also like really conscious of this is the wrong time. And if I do this, it's gonna be very vulnerable, and people are going to see me, and I'm going to be out front, and they're going to judge me, and I'm going to, so there's that piece as well, because that's that voice from the G that gets amplified. So I think that's a lot of it. That's part one. Part two, a lot of 3420s start off in life like ding, 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 doing everything and all the things, right? And the first thing that happens is their parents come up and they're like, cut it out. Cut it out. Why are you trying all this stuff? You need to just pick one thing. Stop. No, you can't do that. No, you can't, and so just like with that manifestor energy, they learn very quickly, oh, I'm only supposed to do one thing at a time. I don't know what that one thing is. Nothing feels right now, but I'm going to try it anyway and figure out what that one thing is. So they shut down that power. And that's a big, big piece. That's sort of the secondary piece of the deconditioning process. So learning how to heal their relationship with their personal power and the quality of that and that responsiveness that is such an essential part of their power is huge. Make sense? So good. And then on top of that, sometimes they're raised by manifestors. I mean, by projectors. And that's another, it's a weird combination. And I don't know what it is, but there is a very interesting relationship between the 3420 and in particular the 4323. I see those two energies in combination all the time.